Hey you guys, welcome to Edel, my little corner of the internet where I discuss issues and topics that help us get better. Today we're going to talk about in-laws, so buckle your seatbelts and let's give this a go.
These are some of the craziest things my now ex-in-laws have said to me before I went no contact with them. After a year of being married, we had purchased and moved into our first home. We were both working, fully independent, taking care of ourselves, no help from anyone. We started planning for our first baby, and fortunately for me, it happened right away. I told my mom, who is super over the moon excited to be a first-time grandmother, but unfortunately, it was not the same reaction on his side of the family. The first words out of his mother's mouth were, "Well, wasn't Cindy on birth control?" Very disappointing reaction, to be sure. And her son told her, "Well, this was a very planned pregnancy. Like, we are married, independent married couple in our home. Like, what is the problem?" It was a huge fight with them. And I guess the backstory is that my ex-mother-in-law's experience with being a grandmother, where her daughter had 3 kids. When she was pregnant with the first, she was still living at home, unmarried, still in college in her early 20s. She ended up going on government assistance, and she had shortly 2 more kids after that. And I don't know if they were unplanned, whatever, but I guess my ex-mother-in-law assumed every pregnancy is unplanned, even though ours was definitely not. Also pregnancy related, while I was early in my pregnancy and due for the genetic testing that you get done to make sure the baby's healthy, his brother, who was at the time, he was in his residency, he's a DO, doctor of osteopathy, he called me directly, and he never calls me directly. I remember vividly, he called me, I was driving home from work, and he said, "Hey, I hear you're due for your genetic testing soon. I just want you to know that if the tests come back abnormal, meaning is showing a positive sign of abnormality," he said, "you need to take care of that." Okay, I don't even know if I can say the words on here without getting banned or whatever, but basically I need to terminate the pregnancy if the tests come back with any signs of an abnormality, like Down syndrome, whatever. And I remember thinking, wow, get the fuck out of here, dude. How are you telling me what to do with my pregnancy? That is actually insane. Another pregnancy one. Wow, this was a very stressful pregnancy for me. So while I was pregnant, go back to my other stories, we were guilted into lending his parents money. They took forever to pay us back. So by that time, I had the baby. We were, still doing okay. I was on maternity leave. They owed us thousands of dollars still. And so we were being very frugal, not going out to eat, not doing many things because, I was on maternity leave. And his parents owed us money. We saw that they were still continuing to live lavishly. They were still going out on vacation, going out to eat, going to the movies, enjoying all these fun things with their grandkids. When my then husband pointed out to his dad, "Hey, by the way, you still owe us thousands of dollars, and we're over here at home cooking and eating ramen, and we see you guys are going out to eat constantly. What's up with that?" His dad said to him, "Well, what do you expect us to do? Eat gruel?" We still try to have a good relationship, even though they still owed us money. And at one point we went out to dinner, and then as a family, and then we went to a Babies R Us or something. My sister-in-law was in line waiting to purchase stuff for her kids, and then her dad just went and was like, "Oh, I'll pay for everything." My ex-father-in-law was waiting in line to buy these expensive costumes for his other grandkids, toys, just useless crap, even though he still owed us thousands of dollars. I'm waiting in the other line holding a 3-pack of baby bottles, because at this point I was going back to work from maternity leave, so I needed bottles because I was nursing and I was pumping at work. So I was and so because we're good budgeters, I wanted to make sure that we had enough money to buy this $9 pack of a 3-pack of bottles. And I looked over, and here's my ex-father-in-law, who owes us thousands of dollars, buying all this other stuff for his other grandkids. My then husband pointed that out to his dad and said, "Hey, you owe us thousands of dollars, and here you are buying all this unnecessary stuff for my niece and nephews, and we're over here waiting in line to buy baby bottles that we need for our new baby." Our point goes right over his head, and he goes, "Well, I didn't know you needed help to pay for baby bottles." That is not the point, right? You guys understand that's not the point. Going back to when I was pregnant, I know a lot of this has to do with the pregnancy because that's when, I don't know, just a lot of crazy stuff happened. After we lent them the money, they closed on their house, they moved into a temporary rental with their grandkids and their daughter, and the rental was still, to me, a mansion with a pool and everything. Again, we still try to have a good relationship. I was 9 months pregnant then. We went to visit them in their new house for a housewarming. It was hugely pregnant. It was a 2-hour drive. We brought cake, we brought pool floaties and toys for my niece and nephews. At the time, oh God, it's all interrelated, but we did not have a good relationship with my ex-sister-in-law's estranged husband. He was not supposed to be at the house. He was not supposed to be in contact with us. He had threatened us. I had almost filed a restraining order against him. They guilted me not to, so fine, I didn't. But we made it clear that he was not to be around us, including at the house when they knew we were on our way. He was there. He was waiting at the house, and as we pulled up, we saw that his car. So my husband called his mom and said, "Hey, what the F? Like, Cindy's here. Cindy's pregnant. We do not want to be around this guy who threatened us." My ex-mother-in-law said, "Yeah, we didn't know he was coming." He had stayed the night before, so they fully knew that morning when we were on our way that he was there. She said, "We didn't know he was going to be here, but he's leaving. Don't worry. Why don't you guys go to Walmart and hang out for a couple hours at Walmart while he gets his stuff together and leaves, and then you can come back to the house." Remember, it is like August. It is hot as hell. I'm 9 months pregnant. We had cake and everything for the kids, and my then husband just said, like, F this, and he drops off the cake and the toys for the kids, and we just leave and go back home. I could make a whole separate video about all the crazy shit my ex-sister-in-law's husband said to me over the years. They had 2 more kids with him, and then they finally separated and then eventually got divorced after I had already divorced and left this family. But when I first went into this relationship with my then husband, when we were still dating, and my ex-sister-in-law's husband, they had 1 kid at the time. He just was, I guess, completely inappropriately smitten with me. Over the years, despite me like politely rebuffing him, he would email me at 2, 3 in the morning saying weird shit, basically like trying to bait me into being inappropriate the way he was. He would email me and say, "I have a secret to tell you. Please don't tell my fiance." And he would apologize the next morning, say that he was drunk. Another time was Valentine's Day. We were all hanging out, and the husband, texted me in front of his wife and wished me a happy Valentine's Day. And I was like, "Oh, did you mean to?" And I held up my phone. I said, "Did you mean to text this to your wife? She's sitting right here." And he's like, "Oh, my bad. That was a mistake." Later, she told me that she knew it wasn't a mistake and that he intended to send me that message. Another time, we were all on a family vacation together, and he made a comment about the way I dressed, and he said that I dressed really nice. I was working at a court at the time, so I was, always dressed nicely in suits. He said I dressed really nicely and I should teach his wife, give her tips on how to dress. And, I was like in my early 20s at the time. This was the mid-30s-year-old man. The final straw, which I mentioned in the other video, was when he emailed me right before the wedding happened, and he was a groomsman and she was a bridesmaid. He emailed me at, again, 2 or so in the morning and said, "Can I kiss you? And if you don't, please don't tell, my fiance." I told, obviously, then husband, my sister-in-law, my in-laws. It was a whole thing. He was supposed to not contact me anymore. Later on, because, by the way, she was pregnant at that time when he sent me that, like, "Can I kiss you?" email. She was pregnant with either their 2nd or 3rd kid. Later on, he pulled me aside, even though he wasn't supposed to talk to me anymore. He pulled me aside and said, "Why did you tell everyone that? Don't you know his wife? Don't you know she's pregnant? What if she lost the baby? You would feel so guilty." Like, I was surrounded by psychos.
That was a lot, really. And she's right. She was surrounded by cycles. I'm having a hard time grasping how anyone could have such capacity to deal with all these different layers of complexity. It's just insane to me. And then she talks about her brother-in-law being inappropriate with her right before her wedding, and I'm just thinking, you were still proceeding with these plans even after seeing all this behavior, and this is a person you're going to be around. I don't know, maybe she thought she would be away from him and sort of hide from him. I don't know, but it's a lot. It's really a lot to me. And the thing about a lot of family systems is that they have so much dysfunction and it's hidden from the public eye. So in the public eye, everything looks nice and shiny. "Oh, we're great, we're the best family. Oh, don't look at us, there's nothing to see here." But when they're behind closed doors, what happens there, if you are to be told, you would not believe it based on the facade that they give outside. And I always find that so mind-blowing. And people can't talk about it. They are so used to it. They've become masters at projecting one thing and being another. It's so insane. And I think someone like her who had already seen this, she had no business, putting herself further into this kind of setup. But I can understand. It's difficult. It's really difficult to pull yourself away, especially when you're in that phase where you're looking at your partner or your boyfriend and you're feeling, oh my goodness. She doesn't say why she eventually broke up with her ex-husband, but I can only imagine that his family had a lot to do with it. Everything she says to me, it was just getting worse. When I was thinking that, okay, maybe, but it was getting worse. And I can't possibly imagine myself budgeting, yet someone else that owes me money is living off my money and doing better than me. You see, it's one thing if you actually need the money, but you're doing better than I am, and I can see it. I can't do it. She's better than me. She's better than I am. And another thing, what gives people the audacity to think you can tell someone what to do with themselves in their private life, what to do with their body? Why would the brother-in-law pick up his phone to tell her that in case there's anything wrong with her pregnancy, that she should terminate it? This is insane. Like, it's literal insanity. But I guess love, that becomes the illusion. And the problem with this is that you now begin to live a life filled with tension. You don't know what to expect. As someone new who has just joined this family, because clearly where she's from there's different behavior, and she's observing things that she doesn't quite know how to address. And the worst part is now she's starting her own family with this family. This is literally like what nightmares are made of. And I think when we are making such an important decision, like the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, I think it is paramount that we understand the family that they're from, the family dynamics, how they interact with each other, how they behave around each other, and we cannot pretend that what is happening is not what we are getting into. I don't understand what really happens when it's sort of like we are blinded to these things and we just keep reeling ourselves deeper and deeper. And I think it becomes this idea in your head, and you think, oh, this is my man or this is my woman and we're going to get through anything that life throws at us. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Sometimes you get the short hand of the stick and you don't know what to do. And it becomes worse because you start to resent your partner and you look at them from a different lens, especially if they cannot stand for what in your eyes is clearly wrong. You see that this is wrong. Your partner cannot say anything because to them it's normal. And they sort of try to get you to get used to what is happening, and they tell you, oh, that's just how my family is, that's just how my mom is, that's just how my dad is. Hello, that's not how it's supposed to be. So we find in such setups, if you don't audit from the onset, it just goes downhill. It keeps going downhill from there. You will be fighting a losing battle, and that takes away from the quality of your life. It goes without saying that eventually, if you're not going to get a divorce, you're going to live a life that you would not have written for yourself. That is a guarantee. So when it comes to love, I think love and compatibility sometimes is not enough. If you look at the larger picture, you have to ask yourself, am I ready for this? Am I ready to sign up for this? You have to be clear about that. Unless your partner is strong enough to set boundaries in case they come from a dysfunctional family, whether it's your partner, it's the woman or the man. If your partner cannot stand up and have boundaries with their family, if it's dysfunctional, then you're not going to make it. That's just the reality. So again, let's take care of ourselves, and by that it means let's vet our partners, let's be present enough in our lives to see what is happening, and if you're already in it, just keep in mind that it doesn't have to be the rest of your life that you're living that way. There's a point where you can say enough is enough and sort of try to figure out where you can start from. You're not late, just allow yourself, give yourself that self-permission to say enough is enough. It doesn't take anything away from you. It's not about what people are going to think about you. It's not about what people are going to say about you. You have to do this for yourself. And even if you have children, even if you don't, you matter. Your own life matters. Remember, you're not broken, you're not damaged, you're not unlovable, you're not too old, you're not too far gone, and it's definitely not too late. Start where you are. Thank you so much for being here. Share some of your experiences or thoughts with me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and let's get better together. I will see you next time.